Okay, so we'll start with the painting now, and I've decided to do it as a pen and wash, hoping that that sort of encourages me to keep the painting part of it simple, and then it's more doable for yourselves. So drawn that out with a waterproof ink pen, and I've used Bockingford Knot paper, which is quite a smooth paper. And sometimes it's I mean, with a pen, sometimes it's good to use a smooth paper. This one's got a little bit of texture, so it just alters the quality of your line when you're doing your pen work. So that's worth experimenting on different papers. So I'll start with the sky. I'm going to use cobalt blue for going to use cobalt blue for the cool sort of wintry feel of this snow scene. So if I mix up a big puddle of the cobalt, and we don't want the sky dominating too much, so I'll just test. That's not too bad for the top bit. I'm working on dry paper, but keeping the brush loaded with paint, and then when I get to there, I'm just going to dilute the paint a little bit more, and just with a brush full of water there, just touching the bottom edge, just bringing that down, not going back into that bit. And then if I just dry the brush off, just rinse it a little bit, and then get a bit of a warmer colour, so yellow ochre with a touch of crimson. See what that looks like. And again, just letting it kiss the bottom edge of that blue colour. Just rub that bit, and it's not a straight line all across. And then, so that I can work quickly, I'm not going to go right down through the trees. Normally I would do that, but I'll just sort of work around. And you don't need to be too accurate. One of the things we would be aiming for with this is a really sketchy way of painting, so we don't have to fill in within the lines perfectly. That's not important at all. Good. So that's the sky, and then there's a line of distant trees. So if I get the cobalt again and make it a bit stronger, so imagining these distant trees, and they'll go bluer as things go sort of a bluer cast to things as they go away from you. So I'll just bring that down. And I've got some Payne's Grey as well, so I might just drop in the bottom there, just a little bit of Payne's Grey. And then we've got the blue creeping up. I mean, normally that wouldn't be a problem, but it's not particularly attractive, that mark. So I'll just sort of tease it off with the dry brush there. Just let that hang for a little bit, and then just soak up the bottom edge with your dry brush. Good. So I'm going to go a little bit warmer as we come towards these farm buildings. So a bit of burnt sienna with some cobalt in it. Could go for a smaller brush actually there. So we've got a bit of yellow ochre just dropping into that there. Good, and again it's going up into the sky there. Just so that it's a little bit more readable, I'll just stroke that off with the brush there, and just hopefully that doesn't cause any problems later. And then back to the Payne's Grey. And blue. Imagining some really tall trees there at the background. Good. So I'll just assess that. Just let that float in there, that's the warmer colour. Good. So I'll start bringing it forward. So moving into the painting now. So with crimson and yellow ochre, I'm just going to imagine the sky sort of reflecting a little bit onto that, onto the snow. Really pale. Just like that with a dry brush. And then at the bottom, cobalt blue. And I just want it really smooth, so I'm just mixing it on the paper really, that. Good. Just going to try and just pick that off with the brush, just creeping up a little bit in the sky there. Right, so we can have a look at the figures now. So we'll start with the lady, and I'm going to do a little woolly hat first. And I've just made a little mixture of sap green there. And then at the back, I'm just going to drop in a bit of blue. Maybe just take a little touch of that colour off. That's better. And then for the coat, if we start with cadmium red, so we mix that up, and again we're just trying to be really sketchy, so I'll just whack that on. in a really sketchy way, and I'm just going to adjust it with some blue. A little bit of blue in there. And she's got like a warm cardigan underneath. So for that, I'm going to go again for the Payne's Grey and just touch that red so the red sort of drags down into it, and just pull that down into the welling and then fade it off. We don't want a big heavy foot, so just sort of tickle that colour so that it sort of diminishes a little bit there. It's looking good. And then for the other leg, it's a little bit further away, so if we use the cobalt and just touch that Payne's Grey and just see if we can just pull it into that leg, and just again fading out like that. That's nice, that looking good. For the, you can just see a little bit of a cheek there, so if we use yellow, ochre and crimson for that, the tiny little area, that's a bit too red actually, so just adjust that. That'll do. Good. And I'm going to make, for the glove, I'm going to see what a yellow looks like. That's nice, nice little triangle of colours there. Good. While that's wet, so we said the elbow was sort of looking down at the forearm, sorry, was looking down at the floor. So if we make a darker colour, so a bluer mixture of this red, that should just make your eye ooh, that's very wet. See what happens with that. I'll just leave that for now, because what happened, I just dropped a load of water in there, so that'll bloom and possibly cause a cauliflower alert. So we'll see what happens with that one. So starting with the first dog, burnt sienna with a touch. Oh, I've run out of blue there. Just squeeze some blue out. Go a bit warmer than that. Trying again, bearing in mind we want to sketch, so I don't want to do anything too fussy. So we can change that colour with a bit of blue and just give the impression that those two legs are a little bit in shade. Can actually make it quite blue, that. Let's get some blue on the brush and just sort of drop it in. That's all right, that. I'll come back to that because I'm going to put another tone, so try and model it a little bit, give some sort of an anatomical definition, but not too much. And I'll do the other dog. So that I'm going to use burnt umber for that one. Just make his chest a little bit pale. Imagine the lights going on it. There we go. It's not too bad, that. We need some cast shadows now, so I'm just going to clean that blue up with a tissue. And see if I can anchor these figures to the ground with this. That's good. So where the shadow is close to the leg, it's the tone of your colour is a bit darker. So if you just, and then as it goes away, just add more water and just soften it off a little bit. That's better. And this one's further away again, so paler. That's good. Just clean that up a bit. So if I add some shadows here, imagine there's a bit of a banking there, and that's doing the same thing. It's casting a shadow along this snow. It's a bit too solid, that. But we've got some footprints as well. Too many. And just work along there. Go. So I'll go back to the lady's jacket, just add another bit of oomph to it. Right, that's enough. And then the little woolly hat, so a little bit of blue, a little blue dot, just to give that a bit of form. Good. And then back to the first dog. So I've got burnt umber there, just made it. That's enough for that one. And a darker tone of the burnt umber for there. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of detail to the farm buildings as well now. So with the blue and the crimson, not too much. I don't want to define these too much. Keep running out of blue. So with burnt sienna and a bit of blue, just going to frame the farm buildings a little bit if I can. So just showing off the rooftops there. That'll do, and then just add a touch of a shadow for this group of buildings as well. We're nearly there now. Okay, so imagine there's some grasses there. So if I use sort of yellow ochre and burnt sienna, we could get the sort of feeling that there's some grass just poking through the snow there. I don't want to do too much. And with the rigger brush, just assess it. So just gonna drop in a few little dib dabs of warm colour at the front, just to show that this is closer, and it helps with the perspective and the lead into the painting. So that's burnt sienna and a bit of red. And I think that for what we were starting off to get, I think that'll do it now. Just to recap around this area, so I've used burnt sienna with a bit of the blue into it, and then for that cool colour there on the buildings, that's the cobalt blue with a bit of crimson in, so a bit of a mauve colour. That gives a sort of cool shade colour. And this area is like burnt siennas and yellow ochres, and then, as I've just said, with a bit of red for the grasses. So hopefully you can have a go at that, and just bear in mind all the time that it's a sketch, and don't fill in the shapes. Use your brush a little bit like a calligraphy tool and see if you can attain that sketchy look. Okay, so let me know how you get on.